What's good guys, my name is Oleg Nikitin, you are watching No Limits On channel from Russia with love, and today we're having a review of Sirui. Yeah, that's the correct pronunciation of this brand. Sirui 50mm T2.9 anamorphic lens with 1.6x squeeze ratio. So let's review that, let's go. As you can see guys, right now I'm using this lens at T2.9 to shoot this talking head set. And I hope I'm in focus, really hope so. This particular lens is available for 4 different mounts. Sony E, I'm using it right now with the Sony A7S III in S-Log3. Then Canon RF mount, you can also use it with something like Red Komodo camera. Then Nikon Z or Nikon Z mount. And finally the L mount for Panasonic cameras in particular, and we'll talk about those in a second. This is the first full-frame Sirui anamorphic lens, and I have a review of all 4 previous lenses on my channel, right here in the YouTube card and also down in the description below. Some outstanding shots with those lenses, and you can have a look at those after you watch this video. And now let's talk about the kit. Besides the box itself, we get this little pouch, which is really well made. I do like this pouch, and I brought this lens in this pouch together with me to Grodno city in Belarus. And you see the Christmas atmosphere is there, and I really enjoyed carrying the lens in this pouch. Well done. And also we have here 2 plastic caps, the back cap, pretty plasticky and not worthy of our attention, and also this plastic cap with such mechanism. It's okay. The first thing you notice when you get this lens out of the box is its size and weight. It weighs more than 1 kilogram, 1070 grams to be precise, and actually you get tired because you need an external monitor to properly de-squeeze your picture and get things in focus and properly composed, and also you get some tiredness in your arms and wrists, and I suggest using something like a monopod or a tripod with this lens. And for that particular task, you'll be more than fine with this tripod, also from Sirui. I'll leave a link down below. I also did a small review of this tripod in my Moza SlidePod review. You can check it out also on the YouTube card and down below in the description. Great little, lightweight, versatile and stable tripod. The build quality and materials of this lens feels like it's better than the previous Sirui lenses, and I do enjoy this materials, this metal construction more. Also, we do have the gears for your follow focus system, which is also nice, both on the aperture ring and the focus ring. The focus ring has a throw around 95 degrees, which is not a lot for a cine lens, and this lens is positioned like a cine lens, but it's not really a cine lens to be honest, but I'm more than okay with this focus throw. It's very smooth and very precise, and the aperture ring is very stiff, so you do not change your aperture accidentally when you simply try to pull the focus or touch it in a way. And one more good thing is that it has the 1/4 mount at the bottom of the lens for your support, so you're not getting a lot of weight leaning towards your mount of the camera, or you can simply mount your whole setup to this little 1/4 hole, which I'm doing right now with my tripod. The filter thread size is 82mm. It's a pretty expansive, diameter of filters, but it's okay because you do have a ton of filters available for this lens. So now let's talk about the squeeze ratio. It's 1.6x and it's an unusual squeeze ratio. Usually we have 1.5, and I was using the Ninja V or Ninja 5 recorder to de-squeeze the image and have a look at it, and I was using the 1.5x. It's more than okay, and in post you de-squeeze it to 1.6. But when you're using the 16:9 video shooting, like in Sony A7S III, we get the aspect ratio of 2.8 to 1, which is a pretty narrow kind of view. And if you're using 3:1 sensor readout in video recording, like at Panasonic's S1 and S1H, we get the usual traditional 2.4 to 1 aspect ratio, which is really common in video and movies production. And also you get the full sensor readout with the Panasonic S1 and S1H, so you get more resolution. If I'm not mistaken, it's 6K resolution, and you get the in-camera de-squeeze function, so you can have a look at your picture in a normal way, de-squeezed way, without using an external recorder or monitor, which is great. And on this Sony A7S III we get the horizontal view, 32mm equivalent, like if we were using the 32mm spherical lens, not the anamorphic one. And it's a pretty versatile and comfortable solution to use because we have enough wideness in terms of the horizontal resolution and not as much in terms of the vertical resolution, but I was pretty okay with using this lens on the go and shooting a lot of different stuff with it. Now let's talk about the IBIS system. If you do have in-camera stabilization, you better use it than not. The A7S III don't have a special, mode for anamorphic stabilization, but I just set it to 50mm manually. And the IBIS was helping me, not really introducing something like wobbling or additional troubles to me. So if you do have this option, use it. And overall in post I do have to stabilize the footage once again because shooting handheld is not as smooth anyway because you'd better use the tripod or monopod, as I said before. And now let's talk about one issue that all the Sirui anamorphic lenses have, and it's not constant squeeze ratio. Because when you focus to infinity, the squeeze ratio is exactly 1.6. But when you close at the minimal focusing distance, when you focus on the minimal focusing distance, you get 1.51x squeeze ratio. So it changes a little bit and the faces may look a little weird. It's not something dramatic and that you can notice it all the time, but if you shoot a portrait of a person at the minimal focusing distance, I suggest setting 1.51x squeeze ratio in your editing software so it's not getting, too weird in terms of the shape of the person's face. And since we're talking about the minimal focusing distance, it's 75 centimeters, which is closer than the 50mm f1.8 for APS-C cameras with 1.33x squeeze ratio. But actually it's not really bad for an anamorphic lens. 75mm on the 50mm lens is more than okay, because if we take into consideration different anamorphic lenses, they have something like 1 meter minimal focusing distance, and it's better than average. But still, I'm pretty spoiled by the spherical lenses and I'd love to get closer with this lens. And it's not possible if you're not using something like an adapter, the macro ring, or the special optical macro adapter for the front of your lens. And now a few words about the color and color temperature using this lens. Usually I shoot at 5600 Kelvin outside during the daylight, but with this lens I was using 5200 Kelvin because it tends to warm up your shot. And also during the night shots I'm using usually 3200 Kelvin for tungsten lights outside, and I was using 2800 Kelvin for this purpose with this lens. And right now I'm using the 4700 Kelvin with this lens, and usually I'm using 5200 for my talking head setup. I'm still hoping I'm in focus, guys. If not, I'm really sorry for that. No autofocus is a pain. But, anamorphic autofocusing lens is, not the nearest future for us. And now let's talk about the sharpness of this lens. It's a very detailed and very sharp lens, and you do get the sharpness from T2.9. It's a great thing to have the T-stops in this lens because we for sure know the amount of light that's coming to the sensor of the camera, not the f-stop, which is more related to the background blur, the bokeh, kind of the amount of background blur at certain apertures. So now it's time to talk about the flares. The flares are very nice. I do love the flares. As you can see right here, we do have a secondary flare, which I don't really like, but it's pretty okay for this type of lens, and it flares less than the previous generation of those lenses from Sirui company. And I can say that I do enjoy those flares from the 50mm T2.9 more than from the previous lenses from Sirui. They're a little bit teal and let me say cyan and more towards blue, and I do love the look of it. And the great thing about it is that it's not crazy flary and you don't get a ton of, rubbish in terms of flares in your shot. And now let's talk about the bokeh. The bokeh balls are more like ovals, and it's looking more cinematic and more anamorphic than the previous generation of Sirui lenses with 1.33x anamorphic squeeze ratio. I do love those bokeh balls, bokeh ovals, and the overall quality of bokeh is great. It's smooth, it's creamy, and I have no complaints here as well. And also we do get the background separation of the object if it's pretty close to a lens, which is also good. And we, I guess, didn't have an opportunity to have a faster full frame lens, because if it was T2.9, for instance, it would be like, I don't know, 2 kilograms of weight and 2 times the price, and the filter thread size would be 90+ millimeters, which is also not really convenient. And the overall feeling about the picture, the image quality, the image character is very average during the daylight, because it's not, you know, screaming, I'm an anamorphic lens, come on, look at those flares, look at those bokehs. It's okay, it's nicely looking, but it's not crazy good. And during the night, especially during Christmas time, when we have a lot of small points of light everywhere and we do get a ton of oval bokehs and a tons of flares, you do see the anamorphic look more, and I do enjoy using this lens during the nighttime more. Isn't it too slow? I mean, the aperture, isn't it too dark? For A7S III, it's not. In S-Log3, I was using 12800 ISO, which is the second native ISO, and I was shooting a very clean image in S-Log3 during the nighttime, and I even cranked up the ISO to 1200 ISO on this shot with the temple, and I was getting pretty good results with this lens. So it's not even possible, I guess, to squeeze in the faster aperture in this size and this price. Probably it's the fastest aperture we can get with those anamorphic lenses, as for now, for like, I don't know, 2 or 3 years to come. And now let's talk about the price. During the launch time on Indiegogo, it was $1,200. Right now it's $1,500, which is pretty pricey in my opinion, but if we take into consideration the prices for different anamorphic lenses, especially for full frame anamorphic lenses, we do get 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, and even 10 times the price of this lens. So in this context, this lens is a no-brainer. And now it's time to conclude. In my opinion, this is the best Sirui anamorphic lens on the market right now, but it's also the most expensive one. And if you do have a mirrorless full-frame camera, and especially the Panasonic S1 and S1H with 3:2 aspect ratio video shooting in 6K, this lens is a no-brainer. I would prefer to rent this lens probably for my, I don't know, commercial work, small documentaries and advertisement and all that stuff, but I guess I wouldn't buy this lens because it's still pretty expensive and it's not something I would use on a daily basis. But I definitely give a huge thumbs up for Sirui company for this lens. I really enjoyed this product and you're doing such a great job. I do appreciate it, guys, and I hope I would get one of those lenses once from you to test it out. So guys, my name is Oleg Nikitin from Russia with Love. If you do enjoy this video, please smash the like and subscribe buttons as I say in my videos and hit the notifications bell. And I see you guys in the next video. Take care. Bye.